Today's episode is sponsored by Future State Media, experts in off-Amazon traffic for Amazon sellers. Future State Media will build you a custom-made website to deliver sales for you on Amazon. Built to grab traffic from search engines and social media, your site can be used as a secret weapon for launching products on Amazon or just to stabilize your Amazon sales. It means you can also build an email list on autopilot. Go to futurestatemedia.com for your free guide to Google SEO for Amazon sellers today. Welcome back to the show. Today we are going to continue to talk with Dave Storey, who is not only a very meticulous, process-oriented guy, but has built and sold his own Amazon business and then applied his process thinking to the process of building a business to sell, which I think is really important to cover. We've covered this topic from several different angles from different brokers before. This time I think is a different take because Dave has actually been a business owner himself in the space, which is a bit of a different take on things. Today we're going to discuss specifically what buyers are looking for. So if you're going to treat your business as a sellable asset, particularly important to think of it in those terms and to reverse engineer from what the buyers want, what a business buyer is looking for, and also out of all the possible universe of things you could do to move the needle on increasing your business's value, which things could you do and which things can you focus on, how to deal with that. So we cover that today with Dave. All good stuff. Really important thinking, I think, for any serious Amazon business builder. So stick it around, listen, take notes, and of course you can always find notes at the blog at amazingfba.com, or in this case it's part of the 10K Collective, 10kcollective.com. Thanks for listening. Let's get into the show.
The other one is the verifiability aspect. They must be able to verify that your business is making the money that you are saying it's making. And if your financial accounts are all over the place and you've got different businesses mixed in together and you haven't kept your documentation right and it's not numbered and structured, then it's going to be very difficult for them to verify, and it's going to be a big risk that the numbers that they verified are not correct. So that's the other element. And the last one, and I guess the biggest one, is growth. They're looking for a business which has got consistent growth and has had consistent growth over at least this 12-month period. And this comes back to the timing when you sell it. If you think that you're going to sell it and get rid of it when it's stagnated, that's a big, big mistake. Buyers are looking for a business which is growing when they first start looking at it, when you go into the contractual period. And this contractual period, this due diligence could last months. So they're going to be looking at these figures every month. So you've got to make sure your business is continually growing over those months. Because if it stagnates, they're going to back off and they're going to lower their offer.
Yeah, so really it sounds like it's all about engineering / I suppose it's a mixture, like all business really, between reading the trends in your market versus engineering from what is under your control, the situation such that the combination results in an upgoing trajectory over the months and months really before you even start selling. And then also you made a very important point, which is it takes months to sell and go through the due diligence business. And during that period, your business needs to look attractive as well. So you made a very good point. So we talked a lot about the timing and the things you need to look for, some classic errors, really helpful. So tell me about what things we need to work on then. So you said we need to work from the beginning or as early as possible to make the business more valuable. So what are the main elements that will make the business more valuable?
Yeah, I guess we've just touched on it. It's this timing. And in order to accurately work out when your business is optimally growing at a certain rate and is going to continue to grow, you've got to give yourself at least 6 months after that point for continuous growth. So the buyer doesn't happen to see a business which is in decline or even stagnating. You need a financial tool. And this is built into the course. So I've built a bespoke financial planning tool that you can forecast your business out very accurately for at least 24 months. You can forecast exactly what's going to happen on all your products, and you can working back from your selling price target, you can work out how long it's going to take, how many products you're going to need, when you need to launch your products based upon the restrictions of cash flow. So this software tool has got a very accurate cash flow analyzer, which you can work out over the 24-month period. So you can effectively run your business with a positive cash flow, not dropping below a safety amount, and optimize the growth of it, and optimize the value of it over this critical 12-month period, and ensure, based on your analysis and your forecast, that you're going to be selling in a period of optimum growth, and it will continue to grow. I guess that is the most important thing that you can do in your business if you want to maximize the value.
And so you're really saying that your cash flow projection tool, which by the way I think is really such a commonality between all the really serious and successful business owners that I know in the Amazon space and beyond, is this awareness of cash flow and cash flow projection, that your tool is going to really just help you just fine tune that timing more than anything else. Interesting.
Well, once you start to use this tool, you'd be amazed at the effects of things like longer lead times on or shorter lead times on your deliveries from suppliers. The effect of knocking $1 off. You know, it may seem just a little bit. When you extend that over 2 years, it has a huge difference on your business value. And this tool allows you to understand and see all that in your business, and build your financial plan and strategy behind hitting a certain target, or whatever that may be, whatever you want to sell your business for, in whatever time it may be.
Yeah, and the other thing that strikes me is two effects on very everyday sort of tactical level stuff. Like when you're negotiating with the suppliers, for example, they're going to be two effects. One is that you're going to make more business-like decisions because you're going to be willing to walk away from things that really, you're not just thinking, well, it's only $1, let's get it out there, Q4's coming up. You're going to be thinking, well, okay, it's only $1 now, but that's going to actually add up. You know, dollar per unit saved might actually be a huge difference in your financial picture 3 years down the line. So that's the first thing. It's going to change how you think. But the second thing that always strikes me, and I think this is true for areas as diverse as acting, and I used to work with a lot of actor singers and also negotiation. In any situation where you're trying to influence somebody, having a really clear plan and mental focus isn't something that anyone could put their finger on knowing, because they don't know your inside plan when you're talking. But the fact you have a plan and focus always communicates at some level. And I don't even know why. It's a psychological mystery, but it's true that if you have a plan and a focus and you know your numbers, the person on the other side of the table picks up on it, especially the Chinese. They're so super sharp, right? And they know their numbers. And they're just, so you get a better negotiation. That's been my experience. I mean, I don't know if that's been your experience as well.
Yeah, that is very true. This negotiation with the supplier, certainly the initial, when you're choosing the supplier, is absolutely critical to you getting the lowest price, to you securing the best level of quality. You've got to go about it in a certain way, and you're right, they do pick up if you're not professional, if you haven't got a plan behind you. So it's very important to not only portray those things, but actually have it. You're right.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Trying to portray having a plan but not having one, I think is worse than having a plan and being cool about it. Because if you've got a plan and you act according to a plan, everything you do will communicate that anyway. I don't think you need to sweat then in your negotiation. You can simply tell. I always tell my clients, listen, the truth is a great negotiation tool. You can say, right, we are willing to pay up to 1/4 of the selling price for our landed cost. Our landed cost is, our freight's going to be about this. You can see on Amazon yourself roughly how much do you sell for. Therefore, the maximum we're going to pay you is $5 a unit or whatever it is. And if you're very, very clear in your own mind, you can just tell them the truth. And actually, then sometimes you just will walk away from the deal because for both sides it doesn't make sense, but it saves wasted time rather than this kind of used car salesman thing where you just think about the next sales, like they say 6, you say 4, you end up on 5. Well, if the number 5 doesn't make sense, you shouldn't say yes to it. And that's, I think, the difference, right? I mean, we could go into negotiation theory, but I think somehow it works. So what are the main things then that, apart from financial planning, timing, obviously really critical. What are the other main elements that you should be working on to maximize the value of your business?
Yeah, I guess you have to fully understand all of the factors which affect your business value. So the multiplier, this is the multiplier that will be used to essentially derive your business value. And there's a lot of them. There's a lot of things can affect you, and unless you know them, like I said, you don't know what you don't know. So you have to understand exactly what they are. And the other thing to consider is that each business is different. Some things may be important for some Amazon businesses, but less important for others. You may be doing quite well with this thing, but another business might be really poor on it, really weak on it. So you need to understand what these things are, then work out which ones that you can build into your plan, that you can have the least amount of effort, which will produce you the most amount of results. And they're the ones that you need to work on. Because if you're working on the other things, which take a lot of effort but don't produce you much results, then that's not going to really get you anywhere. But you also have to understand that you can't do everything. You cannot work on all these things at once, or you can consider getting them all done or worked on before you sell your business. You have to leave the buyer with some low-hanging fruit. They may have skills that you don't have, like in marketing and in PPC. I don't know. They may have different skills, different connections, and they'll pick up on this. So they need to see some of these things left out for them that they can pick up and drive the ROI through when they buy your business.
Yeah, interesting. Very, very interesting. All right, so that brings me a couple of obvious questions, which is, okay, there are a lot of factors that can affect business value, and we don't overwhelm the listener any more than the person trying to build the business. But what are the main factors, apart from we've talked about timing and cash flow planning? What are the other sort of main factors that you should at least consider looking into?
Yeah, well, I've mentioned growth, which is the big one. And but the multiplier. But the multiplier is it's a bit of a black art. It can be made up of so many different factors, and that's what I was just talking about. What you really have to understand.
Okay, and what about the identifying the right elements then of these multiple possibilities? Or would you say the main sort of processes? You talked about the low hanging fruit thing.
Yeah.
So least effort for maximum results, which makes total sense to me. Absolutely. So how do we sort of begin to identify those things?
Yeah, I've got a method in the training course. So you essentially use what's called a radar chart. So you identify what all these factors are on like a sort of circular chart with like a rings, like a dartboard sort of style ring. The inner rings start at 1 and the outer rings are at 10. So if you're doing really well on, let's say, conversion rates in your business, you've got a fantastic conversion rate and you score 10. So you know straight away that's not something that you concentrate at all. But if you're very bad and you've got a 1 at the organization of your business, which we touched on, you haven't done any processes, you haven't done any systemization work on it, then that's going to get a number 1. Or if you don't have any financial method, any financial planning in place, then that's going to also get a 1. So you essentially analyze all the factors which are applicable for your business and work out the ones from this method that I teach are really the ones that you need to be working on in your business.
Yeah, that makes a great deal of sense. And what's interesting is that in between step that you say, okay, what are the main elements you need to be good at? Where are you at now?
Yeah.
But then you pick your fights. So if you're a 1 on financial planning, presumably you're not going to aim to be a 10 at the end, but it needs to be like good enough, I presume. And then you hand it on to somebody who's a whiz at financial planning.
Michael, this all comes down to focus on what matters. Deciding what to do, deciding what not to do is as important as deciding what to do. And this, if you've got a method and tools to work out on what not to do and what to do, then you can focus on those things you need to do, and that's where you get the maximum gain in your business, and you drive the value.
I remember the last time you came on the podcast and the clip that I used, so it's a bit of audio at the beginning, was you talking about the absolute importance of focus. And folks, if you haven't had a chance to listen to that, I'd commend that because there was a big segment that we talked about, which I thought was really useful, which I know you cover in your training as well. So the other thing is then, how do you, once you've identified what the possible elements are, where you're at on a scale of 1 to 10, what
Yeah,
you're going to focus on, and what I like it is where you said where you're not going to focus on, which is, I guess, where we can really breathe a bit of a sigh of relief for like, oh, it's not all added work.
yeah,
Tell me
yeah.
about what you don't do. I'm glad to hear that. So how do we actually make that actually happen in real life once we've got that theoretical understanding?
Yeah, this is absolutely key. So you've got all these things you know you need to do now. Now you've worked out from the factors that you need to that influence the multiplier, and the value of your business. You know what you need to do in your supply chain, the business organization. You know what you need to do from your financial plan, which is a big long task list. But how do you get it to actually happen? And this is where I bring in my about 20 years experience in planning and project management. So on the course, I train out essentially a method of planning, which is a simplistic version. I don't want to bog people down with complicated tools and processes. That's not where I'm coming from. It's a simple way of really getting a hold of all these tasks and making sure that they actually happen, building them into a proper professional plan. And by the way, you should be having a planning, if you're not having one, a planning meeting every week in your business without fail. Every Monday or Tuesday morning, whatever it needs to be, has to be right. Let's focus on the plan. Where are we at with the plan? What do we need to do to adjust it? Are we on track or behind? Do we need to do new things? How are we getting on? That's uh, the essence of planning. It's not just having a plan. You've actually got to work the plan on a regular basis, because you're not planning unless you're actually regularly working the plan, and that's what that's what I teach out.
By the way, I think for a lot of people, it would absolutely include myself, but I include a lot more successful and richer entrepreneurs than myself. That I think pretty much most people who start businesses, they have that streak of independence, which you obviously have as well, and wanting to be creative. But that creative type can often not really go very well with the planning way of thinking. So I think it's a
Yeah,
skill set and even a mindset that pretty much most people I know who are small business owners at some point have to get a lot better at. So
yeah,
it's not sexy. It's not like saying here's the latest little
no,
hack. Use this thing and get magically more traffic, and then see the number go up on your dashboard with the sales. This is grind, right? But this is what actually makes you the money. So I'm glad that you're willing to dig into this deep because your planning makes you the expert at this.
yeah.
Um,
I have to tell you that all my greatest achievements throughout my entire career have come from detailed planning and working the plan.
yeah.
And I understand why so many people don't follow a plan. I've seen many reasons why people drop a plan, and perhaps the main one is because things don't run to the plan. Yeah, of course they're not going to run to the plan. You've got to make minor adjustments. You don't change your objectives; you change your strategy and how to get there. Um, and once people realize that a plan is dynamic and you've got to continually adjust it and adjust it and adjust it, stay on that path because it's the quickest way to get to your goal.
You know what? I could have hired you today to tell me the things I need to hear because I'm just thinking about a couple of projects that I've got on the go, and it's not Amazon business as such as related of information products, but yeah, that's exactly what I needed to hear. Don't change the objectives, change the strategy, I think you were
Yeah,
saying. But the quickest way to the I'm just sort of writing a couple of tweetables here. The quickest way to the goal is via the plan. I mean, I guess it comes down to having faith in the plan and your ability to work a plan by seeing the evidence of the results, right? And in my case, maybe I'm worse than your average Amazon seller, but I think there's quite a lot of people that I know that we have meetings, and somebody called somebody on it the other week in 10K Collective Mastermind meeting. They said, so look, so and so, you mentioned this 3 meetings in a row. I mean, he basically said, "Are you going to do it or not?" I mean, it wasn't quite as blunt as that, but it was pretty blunt. And actually, I thought, you know what, he's serving that fellow member of the mastermind really well with this, because holding each other accountable is one of the main things we can do. I really think
absolutely.
it's so easy to state a big goal or profess an interest in X, Y, and Z. Oh, we must do that, or oh yeah, I really should do that. Phrases like that, right? So yeah, I'm really glad to hear that, and I think there's certainly a message I need to hear, but also really generally very, very needed. So your skills are highly needed in this area. I think it's fairly unique that an Amazon seller is putting a course out about how to build a business to sell as opposed to a business broker.
Yeah.
So I know you've got a webinar as well. Tell us a bit about the webinar that people can learn from you as well.
Yeah. So in the webinar, I'm going to essentially tell you exactly how to maximize the value and sellability of your FBA business. And critically, and I know I know so many people are doing this right now. Why not selling your business could cost you millions. So I talked about there's an optimum time to sell. That for you could be right now. And if you don't know it's now and you leave it go another year, what happened to me could happen to you. You know, that's a lot of money we're talking about that you're losing. And I'm also going to tell you exactly why building a business to sell is actually no more work than what you're doing right now in a business. And it could be, and this is what I found, it's actually less chaotic.
Like it. That's a really lovely message to hear, I have to say. So if you want to get access to the webinar, folks, you can go to amazingfba.com/build to sell. That's right, build, right? BUILD, not built to sell, which is confusingly, there's a book by a business broker called Built to Sell, which is very similar. Build to sell, amazingfba.com/build to sell. I know you've done your beta testing launch of the course, which obviously has gone down very well from what you say of the
Yep.
members, and I know that a couple of guys that I know in the Amazon community have interacted with that and found it very helpful as well. So you've got your new course coming up. What is it? End of July?
Yeah, it's coming out end of July. I'm
Fantastic.
really excited about it. It's my turn to give something back to people in the Amazon community.
Absolutely. And as we were discussing before the show, basically it's pretty unique. I mean, there's a lot of courses, including, I've got to admit, one of my own out there on how to build the business in sort of general, but to build it to sell, I think is a different perspective. I really like it. Something I feel I need to think more deeply about as well. So really valuable thing to have out there. So Dave, there's lots of things we discussed, some really, really interesting insights. What would you say are your sort of 2 or 3 actionable takeaways from today for people to go and think about or even start implementing?
I guess the first, recognize your business can be a saleable asset. In Amazon, business is definitely that. The market for selling businesses is growing. You know, buyers are understanding how to work this ROI better and better, how to transfer the assets over to them. It's only going to improve. The forecast is this to improve. So it's a saleable asset, and selling your business is the most valuable thing it can do for you. You have to understand that if you want to generate wealth, that's the way to do it. Yeah, living off the cash flow of a business is fine. It's fine. You know, you could be making a good living, but if you really want to generate wealth, you need to sell it. And the last one, I guess, is if you want to get this maximum value, and remember, it's hundreds of even millions, depending on the size of your business, you must have a plan. You must have a plan constructed on exactly the things that you need to do to maximize its value.
Amazing. That's really, really clear set of takeaways. So, Dave, many, many thanks. If you're listening, folks, do get along to that webinar, which should be available as of the time of this publication of this podcast, amazingfba.com/build to sell. And just remains for me to say, Dave, many, many thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Michael. It's been great to talk to you.